My sister didn't just steal my wedding day, she bribed the venue, mocked my dreams, and turned our family against me, all for her influencer spotlight. But when I uncovered her lies, recorded in her own cruel words, I didn't just fight back. I planned a reckoning at a secret coastal estate, where truth would outshine her facade. As her world crumbled under the weight of her betrayal, I rose, claiming a future she could never touch. This is the story of how I turned her spotlight into my fire. I stood in the doorway of my family's beachfront estate in Bar Harbor, Maine, my breath catching like a fish in a net. The seafoam green wedding gown clung to me, its tidal wave embroidery glinting under the chandelier's glow. My sister Chloe, 25 and radiant, twirled at the room's center, her white dress flaring like a spotlight had been stitched into the fabric. Glasses clinked, laughter swelled, and guests clapped as if she'd just saved the world. She spotted me, her smile sharp as a razor clam, and tossed her head. Nothing was wrong. Her grin said, this was just another post for her 200,000 followers. 3 weeks ago, my world was whole. Now, it was unraveling, and she was holding the thread. June's salt air had been crisp then, wrapping around me like a promise. I was 29. A marine biologist who found solace in tide pools and data charts. My fiancé, Nathan Cole, 32, restored lighthouses, his hands rough but his voice soft as dune grass. We'd gotten engaged in April, no fanfare, just a driftwood ring and a sunset on Acadia's cliffs. Our wedding, set for June 15th, was to be small, held at Seawall Cove Gallery, a weathered art space where we'd met over a black and white photo of a storm-tossed buoy. I'd booked the string trio, sent invites, and commissioned my dress from a local artist who wove my love for the ocean into every stitch. It was perfect until Chloe called, her voice bubbling with big news. I should have known. The family dinner was a spectacle. Balloons bobbed over the dining room. A banner screamed, "She said yes," and our mother, Diane, filmed it all on her phone. Our father, Richard, popped champagne, his real estate mogul grin wide. Chloe stood beside Tyler Reed, her 30-year-old fiancé, a crypto bro whose personality was his Rolex. "We're getting married," she announced. Glowing, June 15th? Isn't that wild, total fate? My stomach dropped. That was my date. I looked at her, then at my parents, waiting for someone to flinch. No one did. "That's my wedding day," I said, my voice a pebble against her tide. Chloe laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "You didn't. Like, trademark it." "Right. Besides, yours is just a little thing. Ours is an event. Tyler's dad got us the Ocean Crest Resort Ballroom." I waited for outrage, for anyone to say this wasn't okay. Richard shrugged. "Chloe's wedding will have more guests, more press. It's good for the family brand." Diane nodded. "Just move yours. Isabella, yours is so personal. A week later won't hurt." My heart pounded, my throat dry as beach sand. I wasn't just losing a date, I was being erased. "I'm not rescheduling," I said, barely above a whisper. Chloe's smile faltered. "Why are you being so selfish?" The room spun, the balloons, the cake, the cameras all mocking me. No one saw the problem. I grabbed my coat and walked out, Diane's voice trailing. "Think of the family. Sweetheart." I didn't look back. Bar Harbor's waves crashed outside, a rhythm I'd always found steadying. Now, they sounded like a warning. I'd spent my life being the bigger person. When Chloe shoplifted at 16, I took the blame. When she crashed my car at 19, I swallowed the cost. When Diane sighed that she wished both daughters were more like Chloe, I stayed quiet, always the shadow. Always the one who adjusted. Not this time. My dress felt heavier now, like it carried every compromise I'd ever made. I drove home, the coastal road blurring through tears. Nathan was waiting. His lighthouse steady presence a lifeline. They took it, I told him, voice cracking. He didn't interrupt, just listened as I spilled the hurt. They think I'll fold. I said, they're wrong. Chloe's announcement was already online. Her Instagram flooded with heart emojis and brand deals. My wedding, my quiet dream. Was collateral damage in her quest for clout? I sat on my couch, staring at the invites I'd hand-addressed, each one a promise now broken. The gallery, the trio. The dress, they weren't just plans. They were proof I mattered, and Chloe had swept them away like sandcastles at high tide. I looked at Nathan, his eyes calm but fierce. What now, I asked. He stood, grabbed his keys, and said, we fight back. I didn't know how, but for the first time, I believed I could. The ocean outside my window churned, gray and restless, like it knew the storm inside me. I sat at my desk, a marine biologist surrounded by charts of tidal patterns, but all I could see was my sister's smirk, her white dress spinning like a taunt. The betrayal wasn't just a stolen date, it was a theft of something deeper, something I'd been burying since we were kids, growing up in Bar Harbor. Our family's wealth cast a long shadow. My father's real estate empire built mansions along the coast, while my mother's socialite charm filled our home with galas and gossip. I loved the quiet of the shore, collecting shells, sketching starfish. My sister, though, thrived in the spotlight. Her laughter louder, her stories brighter, even at 10. She'd steal the room, and I'd let her. Thinking that's what sisters did, by high school. The pattern was set. She'd charm teachers, dodge trouble, and I'd clean up the mess. Once, she snuck out to a party, got caught, and I lied to our parents, saying she was studying with me. Another time, she borrowed my science project, presented it as hers, and won the fair. I swallowed the sting, told myself it didn't matter. My mother's voice echoed, be the bigger person. It was a mantra that chained me, making me small so my sister could shine. She grew into an influencer. Her Instagram a curated dream of yoga retreats and lobster rolls. While I studied barnacles and taught undergrads about ecosystems, I didn't mind. Not really. Until she took the one thing I'd claimed for myself. Now, the wound was raw. I learned she hadn't just claimed my wedding date. She'd sabotaged the venue. A call from Sarah, the gallery manager, hit like a rogue wave. I'm so sorry, Sarah said, voice tight. Your sister paid $5,000 to override your booking. $5,000? The number burned, not because of the money, but because it measured how little I meant. The Seawall Cove Gallery wasn't just a space, it was where my fiancé and I had stood, shoulder to shoulder, marveling at a photo of waves crashing. It was ours. And she'd bought it like a souvenir. I drove to my parents' estate. The coastal road winding past pines and fog. I wasn't asking for help. I was testing if they had any decency left. My father sat in his study, eyes on a contract. You should have secured the deposit, he said, not looking up. I clenched my fists. I did. She outbid me. He folded his paper, unmoved. Her wedding's bigger, more exposure. It's practical. Practical. The word was a blade. My mother was worse. Sipping tea in the sunroom. It's just a venue, sweetheart. Don't let this tear you and your sister apart. I stared, my voice low. She stole it. My mother waved a hand, like swatting a fly. She's excited. Be the bigger person. There it was again. That phrase. Dragging me back to every moment I'd bent to fit their narrative. I left, the door clicking shut like a verdict. Back home. My fiancé waited, his presence a lighthouse in the fog. I told him about the gallery, the bribe, and my parents' dismissal. My voice cracked. Not from tears, but from rage. They think I'll just take it. Like always, he nodded, his silence giving me room to breathe. The ocean outside whispered, its rhythm steadying my pulse. I wasn't the girl who lied for her sister anymore. I was someone who'd fought for every grant, every publication, every quiet victory. She'd called me soft, but soft things endure, like coral outlasting storms. I looked at the wedding plans scattered on my table vendor lists, menu drafts, a sketch of my dress. They weren't just logistics. They were proof I could build something beautiful. I opened my laptop and deleted it all. Pinterest boards, email threads, the floral order for peonies, and sea lavender. Each click was a severance, a refusal to play the shadow. My fiancé watched, his sketchbook open to a lighthouse design. "I'm done pretending," I said, my voice steady for the first time in days. He closed his book, stood, and grabbed his keys. "Then come with me." I didn't ask where we were going. The main night was cool, the stars sharp as truths I'd ignored too long. As we drove, the coast unfolded, its cliffs and coves a map of my resilience. I'd been holding up my family's world for years, but now I was ready to build my own, whatever he had planned. The main coast stretched dark and endless as my fiancé drove us along Route 1, the ocean's pulse a quiet hum beneath the tires. Stars pierced the sky, sharp as the questions I didn't ask. I was hollow. Not just tired, but carved out. Years of carrying my family's expectations finally cracking me open. The road curved, and he slowed at a gated estate in Seal Harbor. Its iron entrance draped in ivy, a security camera blinked. The gate parted, and we rolled through a gravel path lined with cedars and sea roses. A structure emerged, all glass and cedar, glowing against the Atlantic like it had grown from the cliffs. I sat up, my voice a whisper. "Whose place is this?" He parked under a sleek overhang and turned off the engine. Mine. The air stilled, the world holding its breath. He looked at me, his eyes steady but unguarded. "I haven't been fully honest." He said, "Not because I doubted you, but because I've seen wealth twist people." My chest tightened. He explained his family. Old New England money, owned half the coast's historic properties. He'd walked away, hating the arrogance, the way status smothered substance. He'd built his life anew, restoring lighthouses, keeping his fortune quiet. The photo exhibit where we'd met, he'd funded it, anonymously, to support local artists. "I wanted you to see me," he said. "Not a bank account." I stared. The man I love now, a stranger and yet the same. This estate, Tidehaven, was his creation. A sanctuary of polished wood and ocean views. He stepped out, opened my door, and led me through a glass walkway. Lights flickered on, revealing a minimalist interior, slate floors, leather chairs, shelves of coastal ecology books, and a central atrium with a koi pond shimmering under soft lamps. My breath caught. "This is unreal," I murmured. He stopped by the pond, his voice low. "If you want our wedding here, it's yours. No one can take it." My throat closed, not with tears, but with something fiercer. For once, I wasn't begging for scraps. The ocean outside whispered, its waves a promise of strength. I reached for his hand. "Let's make it ours." His smile was small, fierce. She won't see it coming. Sleep eluded me that night. The estate's quiet, too vast after the chaos. My phone buzzed at midnight, a notification jarring as a gull's cry. My sister's fiancé had followed me on Instagram. Odd. Considering we'd barely spoken, he was all flash, always boasting about crypto wins or his yacht club membership. Then came the message, direct and unnerving. "You didn't deserve what she did. Can we talk?" I read it twice, my pulse quickening. Part of me screamed trap, but another part, sharper, sensed a crack in my sister's perfect facade. I locked my phone, the words echoing. Talk about what morning brought clarity. I showed my fiancé the message over coffee. The atrium's light catching his frown. Answer him, he said. I blinked. Why he leaned in? Because cracks reveal more than polish ever will. I sent one word. Sure. His reply was instant, proposing a dive bar in Ellsworth. Far from my sister's curated world. I went. Hoodie up, sunglasses on, feeling like a spy in my own life. The bar smelled of fried clams and regret, its jukebox crooning old country tunes. He arrived. No Rolex, no swagger, just a guy with shadows under his eyes. He skipped pleasantries. I didn't know she stole your gallery. I stayed silent, letting him squirm. She said you canceled, claimed you couldn't afford it, moved your wedding to fall. I snorted, the sound bitter. Of course she did. He shook his head. It's worse. This wedding's not love. It's a launch. She's got a reality TV crew, a content plan, even a fake story about us meeting in the Caribbean. I raised an eyebrow. You met at a tech conference in Boston? He nodded. Grim. Not viral enough. He slid a USB drive across the table, its weight heavier than its size. She's got a burner phone, hidden in her purse. I caught her texting someone at 2 a.m. Laughing. She called me paranoid. My fingers hovered. Cheating. He shrugged. Maybe, but she's lying. And she's made you the villain in her story. I took the drive, my hand steady. What's on it? His voice dropped. Voicemails, texts, a video. She bragged about bribing the gallery, said she wanted to bury you. My stomach twisted, not from shock, but from recognition. I'd lived in her shadow too long. Why give this to me? He stood, eyes hard, because I'm done being her prop. I went home, the drive burning in my pocket, and told my fiancé. He didn't ask questions, just said, we end this. I nodded. The tide was turning. Morning light spilled through the glass walls of the coastal estate, painting the koi pond in hues of gold and sapphire. I sat at a cedar table, my fingers tracing the edge of a wedding invitation, its seashell embossing cool under my touch. My fiancé and I were crafting a counterstrike, not just a ceremony, but a reclaiming of my voice. Each envelope held a private code, unlocking directions to this hidden sanctuary. No social media, no public links, just a curated guest list, marine conservationists, local painters, and most crucially, Eleanor Grant, editor of Coastal Living, the prize my sister had chased for years. My lips curled. She'd built her empire on flash. We'd build ours on truth. The plan took shape with quiet precision. My fiancé made calls, his voice low and deliberate, securing a florist for wild lupines and a caterer for lobster bisque. I handpicked guests, not for clout, but for meeting a professor who'd mentored me, a fisherman who'd taught me tides, women who'd survived family betrayals and wore their scars like art, a local blog, Main Tide, caught wind, posting cryptic hints of a secret wedding on the coast. Whispers spread, a current pulling curiosity toward us. I savored the irony my sister thrived on noise. But silence was my weapon. The ocean outside roared approval, its waves a metronome to my resolve. She couldn't resist baiting me. A text pinged mid-afternoon, her words dripping with false sweetness. Hey, sis, just a heads up, our wedding trailer drops Saturday. Yours might feel kind of small next to it. I stared at the screen, my pulse steady. She wanted me to flinch, to beg for scraps of her spotlight. I didn't reply. Let her drown in her smugness. Her fiancé, though, was unraveling her facade. He met me again, this time at a foggy pier. His face gaunt. "She's got a secret phone," he said, voice rough. "Text home one late at night." "Not me." My eyebrows lifted. "You think she's playing you?" He nodded, handing over fresh screenshots. "She's planning your humiliation like it's a marketing campaign." The evidence piled up, each file a brick in the wall I was building. My sister had mocked me to her friends, calling our wedding a sad little hobby. She'd even scripted a tearful speech for her reception, painting me as the jealous sibling. I clenched the USB drive, its weight a promise. My fiancé and I worked late, sketching an altar of driftwood and sea glass, its simplicity a defiance of her excess. "You're not just fighting her," he said, his pencil pausing. "You're rewriting your story." I nodded, the words sinking deep. The Maine dusk settled, its purples and grays a canvas for my rebirth. Reflection came unbidden, my thoughts drifting like seaweed in a current. I'd spent years dodging her light, shrinking to fit her narrative. Now, I was stepping forward, not to steal her stage, but to build my own. The estate's quiet amplified my clarity, each creak of wood a reminder of what I could create. My fiancé's presence grounded me, his belief a tide lifting me higher. We finalized the guest list, Eleanor Grant's name inked at the top. My sister had begged for her attention, but we'd earned it. I whispered to myself, "She'll learn what it costs to erase me." The world was already shifting. A Bangor Daily News article dropped, announcing our wedding with a nod to Eleanor's attendance. My phone buzzed, her panic spilling through. "How'd you get Eleanor?" "What's going on?" I ignored it, my fingers brushing the invitation stack. The air smelled of salt and cedar, sharp and alive. My fiancé glanced over, his eyes glinting. Ready to turn the tide, I grinned. The first real smile in weeks. Let's make it crash. The stage was set, her trailer poised to fade against our truth. She'd pushed me to the edge, but I was diving in, and the splash would be unforgettable. The morning of June 15th broke clear over the coastal estate. The sky a flawless blue, as if the Atlantic had exhaled its calm just for me, from the bridal suite. I watched black cars glide up the driveway, their tires whispering on gravel. Tinted windows hid faces I'd seen only in art journals or conservation panels, stepping out to brush Maine dust from tailored suits. The air was cool, slipping through the window like a silk scarf, carrying the scent of salt and wild roses. My seafoam green gown hung nearby, its tidal wave embroidery catching the light. I wasn't nervous, I was weightless. A wave poised to crest. Today wasn't just a wedding. It was my reclamation. Guests gathered in the courtyard, where a driftwood arch stood woven with lupines and sea lavender. Eleanor Grant, editor of Coastal Living, arrived at 11, her silver hair gleaming as she nodded to my fiancé. He met me at the suite's door, handing me a seating chart. "She's not on it," he said, voice low. I smiled. "Perfect," at 2 o'clock. The cello duet began, a melody he'd written, its notes rising and falling like tides meeting shore. I walked the aisle alone, my gown soft against my skin, no veil, no train. The crowd leaned forward, their silence reverent, not curious. They weren't here for spectacle, but for something real. My fiancé waited, his hand finding mine, warm and steady, like he'd caught me 100 times before. Our vows were brief, raw, spoken beneath the arch with the ocean murmuring behind us. "I choose you," I said, "because you saw me." His eyes held mine. "I choose you, always." The officiant's pronouncement sparked warm applause, a ripple of respect that carried us to the reception. Dusk settled, gilding the estate's glass walls. Tables glowed with candlelight, lobster bisque steaming in porcelain bowls. My fiancé rose, glass in hand. His tie loosened. "Thank you for being here," he began, voice clear. Today isn't just about love, it's about truth, about standing tall when someone tries to bury you. Heads turned, murmurs stirring. He looked at me. I nodded once. He gestured to the corner, where a screen flickered to life. The room dimmed, and her voice cut through, sharp and cruel, recorded by her fiancé. She'll back down. She's weak. That gallery's mine. Gasps punctuated the air. Screenshots followed her texts to the gallery manager, offering cash to cancel my booking, then a message to her fiancé. This is my moment. She can cry later. The final blow was a video. Her makeup half done, wine glass tilted. If she loved him, she'd step aside. He's a nobody. I'm the star. The screen went dark. Silence held. Then applause erupted. Not polite, but fierce. A thunder of validation. I exhaled, my shoulders easing for the first time in months. The doors slammed open. She stood there, still in her resort gown, mascara streaking her face like storm clouds. Her eyes darted, taking in Eleanor, the guests, the screen's afterglow. "You're ruining me," she screamed, voice cracking. I didn't move. The room stilled, every gaze pinning her. My mother rose, her face carved in disappointment. "Enough," she said, her voice ablade. "Leave. This isn't your day." My sister's lips trembled, her defiance crumbling. She turned, heels clicking, and vanished into the night. The doors closed. A final note in her defeat. I sipped my wine, the taste sharp and bright. It was done. But the ripples were just beginning. By midnight, the fallout spread. The video, shared privately among guests, leaked to their networks, her Instagram trailer, posted days earlier with its staged laughs and slow-motion walks, tanked. Comments turned brutal. Her likes plummeting 90%. 3 sponsors emailed her team, pausing partnerships. 2 more went silent. Her PR manager scrambled, begging brands to wait. My phone buzzed with her call, then another call to my fiancé. We ignored them, watching the stars from the estate's terrace, the ocean side, its rhythm a mirror to my calm. I wasn't gloating. I was free. A letter arrived 3 days later, handwritten with no return address. "You'll pay for this," it read. I folded it, tucked it into a drawer, and let it go. She'd lost what mattered: her image, her power, her stage. I'd gained what she'd never grasped: a life built on my terms. The estate stood quiet now, its glass walls holding the echo of our victory. I looked at my fiancé, his hand warm in mine. "Worth it?" he asked. I nodded. Every second. The tide had turned, and I was the one riding it. The Portland harbor shimmered under a late summer sun, its waters dancing with light as my husband and I sat at a waterfront cafe. Gulls wheeled above, their cries mingling with the clink of our coffee cups. 10 days here felt like a rebirth, each morning spent wandering cobblestone streets, each afternoon sketching weathered docks in quiet harmony. The air carried a briny tang, softening the edges of my past. I didn't brace for interruptions, no frantic texts or demands to shrink myself. For the first time, I was just me, unburdened. He caught my gaze, sunlight glinting off his glasses. "You're different," he said. I smiled. "I'm whole." Back in Bar Harbor, a letter waited from my university's dean. The wedding's quiet buzz had reached donors, alumni, even the press, who'd seen the truth laid bare. They offered me a new role: director of coastal conservation outreach, with a grant to mentor young scientists. I accepted, my heart opening like a mussel at high tide. The program began small, with 5 students gathered in a lab overlooking the bay. One, a shy girl, had been told her coral research lacked flair. Another, a first-generation student, feared his voice didn't matter. I saw my old self in their hesitations, the parts taught to dim. Clarity is power, I told them. My words steady. Speak your truth. They listened. And something in me healed. My sister's world, meanwhile, had crumbled. Her social media went silent. No more stage sunsets or sponsored smoothie bowls. Her management dropped her. Brands issued curt withdrawals, and whispers said she'd retreated to our parents' estate. Her dreams reduced to echoes. I didn't seek confirmation. Her absence wasn't a threat, but a gift, a space where I could finally breathe. One afternoon, I passed my mother at a local market. Her sunglasses hiding eyes I once sought approval from. She clutched a bag of clams. Silent, waiting for me to speak. I didn't. I saw her now. A woman who'd chosen flash over fairness. Her world as narrow as the aisle she stood in. I walked on. My steps light. Nights brought reflection. The ocean's rhythm a backdrop to my thoughts. The turning point wasn't the wedding or the video's sting. It was the moment I chose myself, refusing to beg for scraps of respect. That choice reshaped me, like a shell polished by years of waves. My program grew. Students presenting research at conferences, their confidence a mirror of my own. The estate where we'd wed stood as a beacon, its glass walls holding memories of my stand. I didn't need applause or headlines. I needed the quiet certainty of a life mine to shape. My husband and I often sat on our porch, the main stars bright above. He'd sketch, I'd read, our silence full, not empty. The weight of my family's expectations had lifted, leaving space for dreams I hadn't dared voice. I was no longer the shadow, the fixer, the one who yielded. My sister had tried to erase me, but her betrayal forged me instead. A woman who stood tall without apology. I closed my eyes. The tides whisper, a lullaby. The journey wasn't over, but it was mine. And that was enough.